Hey guys, Jacob with Jacob Comics. Alright, you guys know what time of the week it is. That's right, it's time. It's time for the Undervalued Key Show! Alright, guys, as we see here, we got the undervalued key on display, so there is no guessing what the undervalued key is this week. Now, before we get dived into Secret Wars 8 and this awesome cover that I know you guys have all seen before, I do want to let you guys know about our 500 subscriber giveaway. When we hit 500 subscribers, we'll be giving this book away. It's a Silver Cerberus #1. All you have to do is like the video, comment down below, and when we hit 500 subscribers, we'll be giving the book away. I'll put a video up to notify the winner, and yeah, based on comments on the road to 500. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get dived into Secret Wars #8. Now, as we can see here, we always kind of start with the cover, right? I think everybody knows this cover really well. It's how many times has this cover been homaged, right? It's a really awesome Mike Zeck and John Betty cover, and it's basically become iconic. One of the really cool things, if you ever do get a chance to hold one of these in person, is you can definitely see all the heroes involved in Secret Wars are in the background here fighting. You know, you've got Hulk, Hawkeye, Captain America, The Thing, Mr. Fantastic, Dr. Octopus, Iron Man, just to name a few. There are many more. And yeah, that's something that I'd actually never really noticed when, looking at photos of the book. Usually you see Spider-Man's iconic pose in that black suit, right? But yeah, there's actually some other intricate detail inside, in the background there, as well as this kind of red fade to orange cover that just really pops, really kind of, gets you in that moment. Additionally, if you're a Spider-Man fan for a long time, you kind of know these lines coming off Spider-Man Peter Parker's head there mean spider sense is tingling, and he's kind of almost looking at his hands like he's not quite sure about this suit, right? It's the the pose that he's in really kind of portrays what happens with this suit in the long run. And I think that's another reason that it's become such an iconic cover for comic book fans, is that it it embodies what happens in the run. Now, obviously, we've got some key details on this book, and it's the origin of the alien symbiote that eventually becomes Venom. So that's what it says there on the label. Obviously, we all know it is just that, right? It's the Venom suit, the Venom symbiote, before he ends up bonding with Eddie Brock to become Venom. At this point, he's just met Peter Parker and bonds with Peter Parker and wants to be his friend. Um, it's a super awesome book, honestly, and in my opinion, it's one of the blue chip keys. And so you may be like, Jacob Comics, how can you have this on the Undervalued Keys show? This Everybody knows about this book. Well, we'll get dived into some numbers and everything, and you guys are gonna see why this is definitely it's kind of taken a little bit of a hit recently, and if you guys have been looking at this book, now might be the time to grab it. All right, guys, I got a couple other things on this book. Sometimes we'll get dived into some movie speculation talk and some stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, do I even need to say, I feel like this one, even more so than Gambit and Rogue, some of the X-Men that I've talked about, this one even more so has the highest likelihood of all of the books that I've talked about for movie potential. I feel like this one has the highest likelihood of at some point happening in the future in the MCU. Spoilers. Fast forward till fast forward a couple minutes here. Uh, Spoilers for the Spider-Man, the more recent Spider-Man movie, if you guys have not seen that yet. But obviously, we saw there in the movie that Eddie Brock, or at least the Eddie Brock from the Sony universe, was brought into the MCU, at least momentarily, right? And the scene kind of plays out in the beginning and then at the end of the movie. And basically, what we see is that Eddie Brock ends up in Hawaii or somewhere like that. He's on the beach. He's drinking Mai Tais. He's not quite sure that he's even switched into another reality until he kind of starts seeing some stuff on TV that leads him to believe, wait a minute, this isn't quite right, right? And it's at that point when he's thinking about, you know what, this Spider-Man guy, and he's a little intoxicated in the scene at this point. He's, like I said, he's been drinking Mai Tais on the beach for at least a day, probably, maybe 8 to 10 hours. He looks pretty heavily intoxicated. He kind of sees Spider-Man on the TV, uh, you know, having the adventure that Spider-Man has in the movie, taking on the Green Goblin and stuff, and he's like, oh man, who is this? Who is this guy? I'm gonna go, I want to go find out who the Spider-Man is. Maybe he has answers as to why I'm in this reality, right? And as he goes thinking about that, boom, gets chopped off the a little piece of the Venom symbiote, and he's transported back to his reality. And the little piece of the Venom symbiote. Now, if you guys remember, how does the Venom symbiote work when it's when a piece of it is lost from its master? It can really only think of the last thing that Eddie was thinking, I'm sure, which is go find Spider-Man in New York. There we go. Eventually, this symbiote thing is going to find him. My guess is, and a lot of people's guess is, and it's kind of, we got a couple years here to watch this book and maybe get it at the right opportunity, right? Which, now could be, or maybe it drops a little bit lower. I don't know the predictions of everything. I'm just giving you the prices. I did obviously pick my copy up because I felt like it was at least, if not at its low, it was really close to as low as it could possibly go. So, what we're jumping all over the place here. So in the movie spec stuff, we already kind of know the next Spider-Man movie. Well, more spoilers for the next Spider-Man movie if you don't want to hear, guys. So we already kind of know the next Spider-Man movie is going to have Kingpin and Daredevil in it, and it's going to be a more ground-based superhero movie. That's what Marvel's already came out and said that. And that's what's made a lot of people start dumping their copies of this book, because people don't want to wait 2 years for Secret Wars. Because if you're looking at it, that really looks like what they're going to do now is 2 years off. Secret Wars happens. That's after this next Spider-Man movie. They will be able to introduce the Venom symbiote to Peter in the Secret Wars, Avengers Secret Wars movie. And then afterwards, we'll have the next Spider-Man movie where, hopefully they finally get the Venom symbiote right. And the whole, why does Peter end up ditching this symbiote costume and the whole story correct, and the way that comic fans like me and you guys want to see it done, right? And so that's my hope. That is, like I've said about the X-Men stuff, I think this has the higher potential likelihood of happening because we have seen end credit cutscenes, spoilers for the next movies kind of reveal that a Venom symbiote is left within this universe, and because of the fact that they've already told us what the next Spider-Man movie is going to be and it's not about the Venom symbiote, has kind of made some people who are anxious to flip their book not want to wait it out and start posting up copies. And I've seen a lot of really good deals go down, and that's where we're going to get jumped into some data here on CGC. Now, as always, I use my CGC account to go ahead and check out the census on this book. And this is actually one of the more entertaining census books that I've had on the show. And I really wanted to shout out the insanity of this. There is actually, guys, there are 4 copies in the world in a 10.0. There are 4 10.0s. It's just crazy to me. But there's 4 10.0s out there somewhere. and they probably would be worth a hefty penny. Additionally, almost as crazy, right? And we've talked about this before. There's obviously, if there's some 10.0s, there's some 9.9s, right? And there is 23 9.9s out in the world. And get this, guys, the most craziest thing, my son actually spotted this. There is one 9.9 that's actually a signature series. So somebody out there has a signature series Secret Wars 8 in a 9.9. Believe it. Because it's on the census. Unless their copy was lost in fire or, accidents can happen. Let's cross our fingers they kept it safe, right? All right, guys. Now, let's dive into some of the normal numbers. We'll go over the total. This is the biggest total we've ever had on the show. There's, like I said, 24,210 copies on the census of this book. There are 5,866 in a 9.8, 6,022 in a 9.6, and 3,822 in a 9.4. Now, I do some research on eBay also for you guys to check out some of the prices for the books. Now, you don't always have to get raw. I say this, I say it every time. You don't always have to get the graded copies. Sometimes you can get raw if you find a good deal on a raw copy, or if you're interested, you just want to be able to look through the book, not a problem with raw copies. So I want to cover the raw copy data. Now, I was able to find, and this ranges from the grade about $100 for a lower to mid grade copy, and I saw about $200 as the high for some very nice near mint ungraded copies. Now in the graded world, that's where we're going to definitely be able to see kind of the price fluctuations on this book over the last 3 months, because the highs are going to be from 3 months ago and the lows are going to be from this month, guys. All right, and that's specific to on this book. That's how the numbers broke down on this one. So it's really interesting to see this book fall, and I don't know how far it's going to fall, but so we have in a 9.8, there's a current listing available for $764, and that's shipping included plus tax. As said before, don't jump. You're always listening for the low on this portion. Now the high about 3 months ago on this book was $800 plus tax, and then the low within the last 2 weeks is $682 shipped plus tax. So as you can see, the books dropped quite a bit in a 9.8, about $120 cheaper than it was 3 months ago. And you're going to see some even bigger fluctuations in these lower numbers. In a 9.6, there is actually a current listing available as of the filming of this for $397 plus tax, and that's a shipped price on eBay. Now the high 3 months ago for this book in a 9.6 was $720 shipped, and the low within the last 2 weeks is $387. So almost a 40% savings, right? Or you know what I'm saying? Almost a 40% drop right there within the last 3 months. That's huge for if this is a book that you believe in like me and something you've been trying to get. Now in the 9.4, there is an available listing right now for $310. Like I said, guys, some people are just deciding they don't want to wait out the 2 years for the new, for whenever Venom decides to actually, bond with Tom Hardy and Spider-Man, and they're putting their copies up for really reasonable prices. So a 9.4, $310. And as always, like I say, you want to hear the low. I do think that's a reasonable deal, but the low, first off, 3 months ago in a 9.4, it was selling for $414 roughly, and within the last 2 weeks, I did it again, guys. It was me. Within the last 2 weeks, I got this one for $266 shipped plus tax, which I think it came out to like 283 or something like that. But yeah. So, and if you watched the unboxing video of that, I sort of covered how I paid a little more than I wanted to. I was even trying to get it for cheaper, but I still ended up being the low, which kind of surprised me. But what can you do? I was just trying to, I watch these books when I like them, and so that's how I get this data. Is just I watch these books, and I was like, wow, this thing's just going cheaper and cheaper every month, and I don't know if it's gonna fall much farther, guys. I feel like this is close to the bottom. At least that's my opinion, because hey, guys, we can at least all agree on this. This is a blue chip key. It's always gonna be a blue chip key. And yeah, I mean, even though it's not, golden or silver age, it is a blue chip bronze age key, at least in my opinion. All right, guys, that's what I have today. Remember, if you watch this far into the video and you like this kind of content, like, comment, and subscribe. It'll give you a chance to win the Silver Cerberus store exclusive when we hit 500 subscribers. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day.